Tribe, welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make zuppa. But not only is it an Olive Garden copycat, but I'm also going to show you how to make it keto style as well. So you're going to get two soups for the price of one. Because I'm going to make regular zuppa for my family and keto style for myself. So make sure you stick around to see how you can make a healthy version and a regular version copycat from the Olive Garden right at home in your kitchen. For your copycat Olive Garden zuppa, which we're going to be doing keto and normal, you're going to need chicken broth, an onion, you'll need potatoes for the regular zuppa, and a head of fresh cauliflower for the keto. Ground Italian sausage. You can get spicy, but I rather get mild and then add my own spices. So crushed red pepper, Italian seasoning, heavy whipping cream, and Parmesan cheese. That's it. So let's get started on the two different kinds of zuppa I'm making today. So I have two pots, one for keto, one for regular. You're just going to put a tiny bit of oil in the bottom of each pot because the sausage is lean and you don't want it to like stick to your pan. Whew, I don't know what I'm smoking there. So we're going to divide the sliced onion. Half will go into one pot and the other half will go into another pot. Then we're going to add 1 pound of ground sausage to this pot. And then we'll add the other pound to the other one. And we will get that going while we slice up our vegetables, our potatoes, and our cauliflower. Now to sweat your onions and your meat, we're just going to add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. You're going to get that going and slice up your potatoes and cauliflower. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my potatoes. While cutting my potatoes, I always leave the skins on because I noticed from the Olive Garden when you get your zuppa soup, the potatoes always have their skins on. But if you prefer to peel your potato, feel free to, and then you just slice it into very thin rounds. Try to get them as even as possible so that they all have the same cooking time. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Easy peasy. And if you don't peel your potatoes, it's very quick. So of course next I got to get the cauliflower chopped up. So you're just going to basically pull the stem out of the middle. I just cut like a big core out of it, and then I just start chunking the cauliflower up into big bits. And believe me guys, take my word for it, I make this soup all the time. You don't want to put your cauliflower head bits really small because when they cook, they kind of fall apart, and if you start them off really small, you basically will be left with mush. There won't be like chunks of cauliflower that are supposed to be like a symbolic potato in your soup. You'll just have like this like paste almost. So please leave your like little chunks of cauliflower pretty thick. As you can see, they're pretty thick. I'm telling you, they will fall apart and get smaller as the cooking process goes on. And if you don't want to cut your own head of cauliflower, feel free to go ahead and just buy already frozen, and you just dump the frozen cauliflower already done for you into the hot broth. It's your choice. I prefer fresh cauliflower. Okay, so we're going to rinse off our vegetables. And our cauliflower. Now we are ready to move forward because our vegetables are cut and ready to be added to the soup. So now that the sausage and onions are nice and cooked, they're brown, I'm going to be adding, I believe these are quarts if I remember correctly, a quart of broth, it's stock actually, to each pot. Then I'm going to add the vegetables, and then from there I will judge how much more stock I will need. And then I'm going to add, I believe, another one, and I'm going to cut it in half. You're going to see I'm going to add half of that to this pot and then a half to the other pot, and then I'll add my vegetables. And then I believe I split another quart in between that after I get the vegetables in, because then you'll see how much broth you actually do need. And because you are cooking potatoes raw and you are cooking cauliflower raw, they do suck up the broth, so you will need quite a bit of chicken stock. But it is so good because then the potatoes and the cauliflower take on that flavor. It's delicious. So as you can see, one pot I'm adding my cauliflower and one pot I'm adding my potatoes. And then as you can see, they're pretty full. So I'm going to take another box of stock and I'm going to split it in between the two, just so that I know the vegetables are completely covered. And then from there, I'll add my spices, which I'm going to be adding Italian seasoning and hot red pepper flakes. But if you don't like your soup spicy, you don't have to add the pepper flakes, but there is a little bit of bite to Zuppa, and believe me guys, I don't add a lot, just enough for your tongue to know there was something a little spicy in there. That's all we do. But if you like it super spicy, you do whatever you like. That's why I keep my sausage mild, because then I control the heat. But if you like them spicy, go for it. You can even do the spicy sausage along with it. So after I add my spices, I'm just going to turn up the heat on both pots and bring it to a rolling boil. I'll let it boil for 5 minutes, and then I'll turn it down to a simmer so that all these yummy flavors can be absorbed. Our vegetables took up a lot of broth. See how much broth was sucked up between the potatoes and the cauliflower, but oh, did they taste good. So the next step from here is to add your heavy whipping cream, and each pot gets one of these bad boys, which I think is a pint. It moved too quick for me to see, but it's the smaller version. Or you can buy one tall, I call them tall and short. That's what I call them in my house, to be honest with you. You could buy one tall, heavy whipping cream and divide it in between both, but I just bought two. And you're going to stir that in. And in between each layer that you add, I always salt and pepper. That's just the way I was taught to cook. Like it's called layers. Every layer of flavor you add, you always add salt and pepper. And then this is also optional, but this is something that I was also taught growing up, is that you always add butter to certain kinds of soups because it gives it a nice gloss, and it also helps to thicken up the broth. So I just take one stick of real butter and I cut it in between both pots. That is totally optional because that is a lot of fat, but on the keto diet, fat is very important. So the butter is actually key. If you don't like that or you think it's weird, you can omit it. It's just something that I was taught, and it does. It makes your soup thicker and it gives your soup a nice gloss. And I'm just going to add some salt and pepper, and we're going to stir this little layer up and let it simmer probably for another, I usually let it go to like 5-8 minutes. I let it simmer, and then we'll add our last layer of flavor. The next layer of flavor is your choice as well. Now, regular Zuppa requires that you put kale in it, and if you do go to the Olive Garden, that is what the green stuff in your Zuppa is. My family feels that kale is bitter. I personally like kale, but because they think it's bitter, I go with fresh baby spinach. This baby spinach was already pre-washed, so don't worry. It was washed before I added it to the soup. But I just take a bag of baby spinach, and I split it between the 2 pots, and I'm going to let it wilt. I just pour some broth over it, and in about 10 minutes, it'll be nice and wilted and nicely threaded, if you will, through your soup. It gives it a nice flavor, and you're getting some veg in there. It doesn't discolor your broth. I know sometimes when you add frozen spinach to soups, it'll like discolor your broth and turn everything kind of this green color. But I find when you use fresh baby spinach, it will not do that. It holds up very well to the heat, and it does not change the color of your soup. Then to finish this up, my girlfriend happened to be over that day. We had Zuppa together for lunch. That's why you see me spooning in the potato soup, because she is not on the keto diet, and I was serving up her bowl. After you serve it, that's when you add the last layer of flavor, which is your Parmesan cheese. But I always let whoever's eating the soup do that, because some like lots of parm and some like little, because Parmesan cheese can be very salty. So I don't add it to the pot. I let the people put it on themselves. But if you rather just add it to the pot, it'll just thicken up your soup a little bit and give it a nice flavor. But this is what the Zuppa looks like that's keto, and this is regular Zuppa. I think they're both delicious, warm, and hearty. And I'm telling you, you really don't miss the potatoes. The cauliflower just takes on the flavor of the Zuppa soup, and you think you're eating Zuppa. Thanks so much for joining me today in my kitchen. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I had a fun time filming it and an even better time eating it. If you're new to my channel, I just want to say welcome, and if you are part of the Lovie tribe already, I'm so glad that you came back and decided to watch this video. If you're new, I encourage you to subscribe and stick around and join the Lovie tribe. Ring my bell and make sure you get all of the notifications of when I upload new videos. And until the next one, guys, remember to eat well, take care of you, always do what you love. Bye, guys!